How's it going, everyone? Happy Wednesday. We are here with Josh McAtee. We're gonna do a little dynasty talk. We're gonna do a little ship chasing Discord talk, and then we're gonna hop into a big board. So hop in, like the video, subscribe, and let's get going. Josh, how's it going, bro? I don't know you super well, so how's your week going? And I'd love to kind of hear just more about your background in fantasy, in best ball and dynasty, and just get to know you a little bit more.
Well, thanks for having me on, Bindles, man. It's good to meet you. And like we were talking pre-show a little bit, I've been seeing you more often in the Discord. Got a lot of streams popping up throughout this past year, and excited to see you, share with your community and everyone else what you love about fantasy football, and especially playing best ball. And inside the dynasty streets as well too. So thank you for having me on, and happy to get into a variety of different topics. I do like to play a lot of different games within fantasy. So dynasty, redraft, and best ball being the main three.
Okay.
But it's been kind of those three over the years that I enjoy kind of playing the most. So happy to talk rookies and different games we like to play.
Yeah, I just noticed you obviously in the ship chasing Discord, just sharing some sharp takes, and so I've noticed you there, and then I followed you on Twitter, and I saw you tweeting a lot about dynasty stuff, so that caught my eye, and just tweeting out some sharp analytical takes and other stuff like that. So do you have an analytical background? Do you I saw it maybe Destination Debbie stuff that you were interacting with? Do you have any background with those guys? Would love to hear more about whatever, just kind of what your process is, and because I obviously you're a super sharp guy from what I've seen, so would love to learn just your process and everything like that. So,
well, I appreciate that. I would say the community has, it's like iron sharpens iron, right? Like all the all the discussions that go down in the Discord, and the things that both Pat and Pete have instilled in that community and allowed us to have conversations and build upon ideas and theories, to go win these games, and at the end of the day, I think, especially in dynasty, I think oftentimes people, I think one of my takes is that people aren't actually trying to win their leagues. They're trying to accrue value. They're trying to, build the best value team on paper. But sometimes they're not actually getting after, a structure or a process that can lead them to winning their dynasty leagues. I don't really have a strong analytical background. I'd say it's just more a product of saying, hey, I want to, learn about these numbers and what they mean and why they're important. And I think that's where, people that, like Ben Gretsch and Sean, even Rich Rebar, JJ, like hearing those guys talk about, process evaluation, what numbers matter, what numbers don't. I don't know if you subscribe to Ben's, Substack, but he put out a passionate post the other day, kind of talking through, everybody chasing the R-squared numbers and trying to capture, the most perfect metrics for correlation to predictability. And, that's just not what this game is, that we're trying to win always. So, the background, I'd say I started playing Dynasty more in like 2018. And I think that's when I first started playing also in the FFPC, both like in the redraft side of things and Dynasty. So I probably really play, more, I play the FFPC Dynasty Leagues is much different than playing something, that's on a safe league format, like a 12 by 10 with 28 man deep rosters, right? Like
Right.
they're just two different structures and two different thought processes altogether. So, but I like playing both formats. I think both bring unique structures and situations. And then it's also primarily been lineup. I think one of the things that, I started paying closer attention to Destination Devi's content because as I was playing Dynasty, I was more of a player that spent more time accruing value on my teams, and I wanted to get better at winning championships right on those teams, using that value to win. And so Ray Garvin and who runs and owns Destination Devi, he's probably more known as a prospect evaluation, right? That's really cut his teeth in the industry with
Sure.
uh, with player profiler and moving on to other formats. But he's a really strong dynasty player, really good dynasty mind, and thinking through decisions to help you get better at dynasty. And then Scott Connor, who's also now at Destination Devi. I came across his stuff really when I wanted to get better at roster construction, right? Which correlates a lot to best ball and the way we talk about that. So it was a really and I didn't know why, but until I really heard him kind of talk about roster construction and dynasty, it didn't really click for me that, oh yeah, we do this in best ball, right? We do this in redraft
There's
as we're
parallels. Yeah.
yeah, there's a connection there. And so I was like, what? I wasn't doing that in dynasty. And when I started to make that switch, that really changed the outcome for me in a lot of leagues. Um, and we can talk about that some more too, because I think that's just an important part about dynasty, probably more so than thinking about what players I'm going to pick, with my picks, because those are outcomes that are out of your control versus what you can do with your roster construction.
Yeah. So you say you've been playing since 2018. So that's what, like 5 or 6 years now. Okay. Yeah. Because I honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure how many leagues you're in Dynasty. I just hit 40, which is scary to say because I'm actually crazy. But I only started playing. I think my first league was like a mid. I'm not sure if you've heard of Dynasty Zoltan on Twitter, but I did a mid-season startup with him in middle of the season of 2021, and
Okay.
then just I have a very strong personality when it comes to just diving into stuff real deep. If you can't already tell, so yeah, dove really deep, got into the bulletproof Discord with some of the guys in there. Jacob, Dplot, if you've seen them on Twitter,
Mhm.
and the Bean Counter. So yeah, it's something I really whatever. I'm still pretty new to the dynasty game, honestly, and best ball as well. I think I started in whenever Underdog, it was it 2021. I think they launched. But obviously always been obsessed with football and fantasy in general. But so yeah, dynasty. It's interesting you say that in terms of people don't really want to win, because that's one of the things that I think I got over pretty quickly. But just like you build up all these, I think one of the barometers for me is like how many young like wide receivers that you have on your team that are just like they're high value, but their scoring is really only like whatever 15 points a game max, like a Devonta Smith type guy.
Mhm.
And I found myself drafting a ton of those guys, players where it's like their expected years remaining was super high, but their production wasn't very high. And I think that's something that I really needed to get over. So I guess, yeah, what are some structural things that you have noticed over the years that you try to implement to kind of give yourself an edge over people who are kind of pushing in too much of their chips into the I want young players on my dynasty team, and that's I just want to see my young sexy roster.
So I think you have a unique setup because you're in 40 leagues, right?
Yeah.
So you are a portfolio dynasty player, right?
Yeah.
You can think about your whole dynasty team structure as, you know, who am I taking bets on? What's my roster, percentage? And then you can hedge bets in different kind of ways, right? Like you can really work a market. What's up, Tyler? You can really work a dynasty market because you can go in and see where there's inefficiency in player settings or player rankings, right? And then go make some bets to say I want to shift things around based on what I'm seeing and what I want to do. I play currently in 15 leagues.
Okay. Okay.
I got up to 25, and those were all lineup. And so I was too much for me. I couldn't. It wasn't fun on Sundays to manage those leagues and my redraft lineup leagues because I was also playing heavy in football guy tournaments on FFPC or main
Okay.
events. And so come Sundays, I'm trying to manage that. I'm trying to run some DFS, single entry tournaments,
Holy
and
crap.
it was
Yeah.
just
That
chaos.
sounds
It was
awesome.
like chaos for like 2 years, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I really pared back the dynasty teams. 15 is a good number, but now I'm at a point where I kind of want to branch out a little bit and move into some best ball structures, and
Okay.
that is a whole different dynasty build than a lineup build. And so, within like your portfolio, are you mainly lineup or are you best ball dynasty?
Yeah, so I actually only have one basketball dynasty league with some
Okay,
guys from the Bulletproof Discord. So
okay,
I think I ended up finishing. I think it was in fourth place. I think I had some quarterback injuries. Cousins got injured and some other guys, but I do feel like I was pretty well set up just from playing so much underdog.
yeah,
And one thing I noticed was tight end. Like I kind of got lucky. I'm a big in managed. I'm a big elite tight end guy. I make that a priority, which maybe was to my detriment last year because I had like 40% Mark Andrews, which kind of sucked. But process wise, I'm still pretty good with it. But yeah, that one I just remember. I think I had like just a nasty, gross tight end room of like Dalton Schultz and Gerald Everett and Taysom Hill and like those kind of guys where I was just like, you know what, I didn't get the elite guys. I'm just gonna attack it with volume, especially
yeah,
knowing it's baseball. And I think I had like whatever 8 tight ends that were just really mid or terrible, and it turned out pretty well. I didn't end up winning. The luck didn't break my way, but yeah, I that's a question I've asked a few guests, and I would like your take on too. Like, do you find that playing in like dynasty and best ball that you kind of can learn from each other and like the different times of year, and like what takeaways do you kind of uh get from both of those that help or are to the
yeah.
detriment of the other one?
I, I would say when you think about dynasty, you're always thinking about the work in the market. What is the market doing to the reacting to the players and whatever's happening in the NFL? And the two markets I look at is underdog ADP and keep trade cut. Those are the
Okay.
two most public markets with the most activity to show me like what are people thinking is going to be the priority players right in this upcoming year. And you see it in underdog ADP, right? Like you see McBride shooting up, and he caught up right to like a dynasty ADP, right,
Yeah.
or where he would go in dynasty, right?
Yeah, his
And
starting ADP was I don't know how the
it
hell
was
that
so
even happened.
right. I don't know what Hayden was thinking, but it was so low, right? So so low, and but it caught up. And if you in my I like to pull in both of those when I look at my teams and look at some player evaluations because they're just two different types of market makers. And I think in Dynasty, it's really hard to project, in it past the current year. Like it's real hard to do that well. And so I'm often playing within a 1 year window of what I think these players are going to do in this upcoming year. And that's one of the reasons why I pulled in an underdog ADP to let me think through how is how is the fantasy football community thinking about the market? And I don't know if you primarily play on sleeper or MFL for your dynasty, but especially in sleeper formats, that market is very reactive and it's very volatile week to week on the little bit of news that just does happen. And so, especially with the guys within Destination Debbie, we talk about that often and how much Dynasty is truly a week to week game. It is heavy on news, it's heavy on player marketability and likability more than just, what are their actual outcomes. Dynasty markets move a lot on that kind of information. And so, I know Scott Connors talked, he wants to create a likability score because you could have drafted Quentin Johnson based on a lot of things we're used to talking about: first round capital for receiver, going into a strong offense, great quarterback play. But the community hated him. Like, the community did not like him. So if you have him in Dynasty, even if he hits, like, people don't like him. And so he's not, from a position that's very liquid at receiver, you got an unliquid or illiquid asset that then didn't hit. I mean, and he's just dead on your team. And
He's
so
just
this,
sitting
like,
there. Yeah.
yeah,
Luckily I got out of a few of my shares like in season when I think there was still some people, like there was one guy in your league that's like,
right.
okay, he still was a first round receiver. He's on the Chargers, blah, blah, blah. Got out. But
Yeah.
sorry, keep going. Didn't want to.
No, you're good. I mean, it's painful, right? Like, I had some QJ, right? Like, I'm taking first round receivers, right? Like, but we're just seeing the fact that people didn't like him. And you even saw that with Jahan Dotson. Like, people saw that his rookie year coming in. We were drafting him high in Underdog and in redraft, right? All in the Pickens kind of area. Then he has a bad year and his just value tanks, and you can't do anything with him. And so this likability factor, which is so hard to kind of quantify, becomes very important because now you just have this asset that you can't really trade. Nobody wants to deal for him. And you got to hide him in packages and put things together to try to move this player off of your team, from a position that's very important for liquidity, inside of your dynasty roster.
Yeah, it's I think something that you always have to take into account is just know your league mates and just really try to build those relationships up because that'll just give you such an edge in terms of like getting out when you need to get out and then also being able to buy players low that you think whatever, like there is some difference in,
Yeah.
let's like you were saying, I use fantasy calc, I use all the different just ones as a whatever, they're all slightly different, but try to take advantage of those because it really is. I feel like that's something that I didn't understand in the beginning was just every league is different. Like one league there might, and
Right.
it also only takes one person in your league to want that guy to be able to move them, but you can't predict it league to league. So
Yeah.
I think honestly the biggest thing for Dynasty is just being an active manager and kind of having your ear to the market, whether that be on Twitter or whatever, watching different content, and just don't. I think too many people get take lock where they just are like, okay, I was in
Yeah.
on QJ and I'm just gonna ride it out through the season, and he'll correct over the
Yeah.
season. I think that is something that it's hard to kind of get over that hump because you want to you make these picks, right? You store up all your picks year over year. You make the picks. You're invested in these players, and I think that is something that we should try to detach ourselves from the actual players. I think obviously me being in 40 leagues, it's a little bit easier for me to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to play the market, but that's something I've really taken away. So.
I agree. Understanding what your league economy is like, like you can't go into a trade show and explain that to the person that's trying to, you're like, oh, give me a price check, on these players. Like, well, what does your league think? If your league hates tight ends, then this is going to be off. If your league hates passing quarterbacks, this is not going to be a good evaluation. Like, league economy is so crucial, to figuring out what's important. and how you're going to deal those players. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, Scott Connor is, I think he's one of my favorites in the industry, just from, you said, roster construction and just kind of grinding those small edges that maybe the majority of people aren't. I think, like I said, I am a sicko in best ball and dynasty, so I think uh he definitely has reinforced some stuff like that where I'm just like, okay, like just getting wide receivers off my roster that are below a certain point, and just that's not, they're just going to be roster cloggers or guys that they're just taking up a spot that I could be churning for other guys that could shoot up in value. In terms of rookies, have you been, how has your process been? Who have you been following? Do you have any strong takes one way or the other on any guys? I know we were talking before the show, you were watching the tight ends run at the
Yeah.
combine. What are you looking forward to this weekend? Just any general rookie takes. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is a really strong rookie class. Like I think between the quarterbacks that we have available to us, the receiver depth that we have, tight end is just really strong with Bowers, but I mean, you can't really ask for much better than Bowers and Sanders, kind of coming out, right? We won't get the tight end rookie class like we had last. That's an anomaly. To get those tight ends, that's just a straight anomaly. So to get a strong Bowers, to have some intriguing options and running back, while the top end is not strong, I think we're going to have lots of guys that are going to replenish, the backfields in the NFL. Unique guys, like Shipley and Bucky Irving, that are going to be pass catchers. Those are guys that, have some wiggle and have some ability to get open. Are going to be very, very interesting kind of players. So I think, tomorrow is going to be fun to, it's always fun to see the 40, right? And see everybody run the 40. But just as a reminder, like, don't double count, right? Like, we know a guy's fast and he runs fast. Like we're not gonna double count it, right? We're gonna remain calm and not double count it. When Worthy runs a 4.3, we know he's fast. So so we can't double count it. But I'm just excited to see, some of those guys get out there and move. I don't watch a lot of college football throughout the season on Saturdays. So that's kind of my one day that I kind of put, I know Sunday is going to be a lot of football. So I kind of make Saturday, get everything else I need to do done, on Saturdays. So, but I think, just seeing some of the highlights that I've seen from these guys, watching them kind of move out there and just kind of enjoy the combine process, like I know 40 time doesn't work into a lot of people's, prospect models. But I think just enjoying it for what it is and seeing the move, for tomorrow is going to be the best part for me. I'm excited to see, some guys like Roman Wilson run like he was not a guy. Like until I started doing, some evaluation and looking at numbers, like he was not a guy I was paying attention to. Just no idea this was a guy who's going to become important, right? So, seeing guys like that and Lad McAtee and getting out there and to do their things will be a lot of fun tomorrow.
Yeah, this receiver class is real exciting. Like I think there was, I forget the exact number. It was like 17 receivers in Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 players or something like that. Like for Dynasty and for best ball, it's super exciting. The whatever 4 to 5 quarterbacks maybe that could possibly go first round, and maybe probably 4, I would say. And then receivers, there's just so many. So even if we don't think the running back class is like amazing, I still think there's going to be guys that emerge that go in the whatever late second, third, fourth round. And I think those receivers and quarterbacks will push down a lot of guys that otherwise, whatever they might, they'll get pushed way down further, and you can get guys later that would not be there in most classes. So yeah, it feels like a very strong class.
In Destination Devi, they do a lot of rookie drafts mocks that we all participate in. And so, when you start to look at where those running backs are going, if you want to pick up some running backs, you're seeing basically that second round starts to get littered with them. A Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen goes in the back of a second, Benson in the middle of the second. Then you start getting into like the Estimes and Shipleys. They're going later into the third round. So Ray Davis in the third round. Like there's just a lot of different fun profiles that are going to get added to the NFL that you don't really have to overdraft, and you can take different spots, in this this upcoming rookie class. So yeah, it's exciting. I think this is just hopefully when we look back, we can look back on a strong class.
Fingers
We can look
crossed.
back on a strong class. We get some new quarterbacks added, some really strong receiver prospects being added, to kind of further replenish the NFL. So I think like what's been interesting in Dynasty is we've had Diggs, Allen, Mike Evans, Tyreek, all these like age 29, 30-year-old receivers, right? That are still like receiver ones, right? Like they're still producing, Keenan Allen, right? Like there's a bucket of these guys that are, I mean, they're truly about to age out, right? At the end of their careers. And we're kind
Yeah.
of looking around saying, who is backfilling this, right? The guys that are at age 27, 28, the Devos, the Terry McLaurins, Deontay's, Chris Godwin, like they're not into that top end range. So I'm kind of looking at this saying, okay, well, we might not get that 30-year-old receivers we've been betting on
That's a good
for
point.
these
Yeah.
receiver one seasons. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see who makes that transition and jumps up once those guys start to fade out there at the end of their careers. And hopefully some of these guys that are coming in do that. Garrett Wilson and Olave, have a step up because their target shares and all the peripherals are there, but they really need an offense that helps propel them, into those, top scoring, the 15, 16 points per game numbers that we want to see on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean the receiver, whatever landscape is so interesting right now. Like you said, like those old guys, and I think we have like Neighbors, Harrison, like you said, Puka, Wilson, Olave. Like I think we have guys that can take the next step. Um, so it's interesting to play, especially in Dynasty. Like I have a tough time not taking the really old guys because they are
Right.
so cheap, especially this time of year. So I try to build my teams where I can hold value in other places and picks and quarterbacks and tight ends where they're going to be there's scarcity at those positions and obviously picks are going to hold their value and go up in value as we get closer to the rookie drafts, and then you can just have those older guys kind of fill in for the points. But it is interesting to see maybe like it's I don't think it's the time to sell those guys right now in the off season when it's March and they're not scoring points. But I will definitely I think that will be a strategy I'll be trying to implement in season is once we are in redraft season, once we are closer to the season, trying to pivot off those guys. I don't know. It's always a teeter totter of like, okay, do I hold on to these guys and just ride them off into the sunset, or do I try to flip them for a younger guy and then try to repeat the process? But I think as you were talking to start just about trying to win your league, and that's really the main goal of what we're trying to do is not just have a young roster. So I think as I've gotten in more into Dynasty, I've leaned more into the boomer, just whatever, get some olds in there, and then just I can hold value in other places. So
I think that's the way to play it right now. I think you can look at your receiver room and let's say you're a 12 team start 10, right? And you can start up to 6 receivers, right? I'm only rostering 7. Like that's the roster grouping that I'm going with. And
sure.
inside that 7, I'm probably looking at 3 of those guys are youth with liquidity, and then 4 of those guys are probably kind of aging out. And if and I'm trying to win with that kind of structure, because if I have 6 aging out and 1 guy with liquidity, then that's really a failing structure, right?
Yeah, that's too
I
much.
need yeah, it's too much, right? Like you can't just go, all olds and then just collapse your roster altogether, right? You gotta have some liquidity in the strongest part of your team which is receiver for liquidity. But you also just can't have too much liquidity, and just have Bateman and Burks and Devonta and like all these guys, like, people that you're hoping, accrue in production and also in value. But then you just don't have the scoring firepower, to go attack it, and win your league. So I think, for me, I do think about it as texture. What does the texture of that room look like? And well, I'm heavy kind of one way or the other. Then it gives me a way to look at, okay, well, maybe I need to go try to buy some Mike Evans. Maybe I need to go buy a Devontae, add somebody else in there where I've got a little too much hopium, with a receiver that's on that roster. So
No, that's a great point. That's a good way of contextualizing what I was trying to say. Because yeah, it's I just find, especially new dynasty players, that's a trap they fall into a lot.
yeah,
Like you said, the wide receiver is the most liquid position, and it's like I don't know, whatever. Last year, Jalen Waddle was going in like the early third round, and like these guys where it's like in best ball, Jalen Waddle is a little bit more appealing, but like in dynasty, it's like you're paying so much for a guy that's gonna realistically score like 15 points a game, 14 points a game. So yeah, I think, I mean, I've done uh, way too many startups this offseason already because I'm just get bored and I have nothing else to do. But um, I've been, yeah, it is really nice right now because the kind of like middle rounds are just prime for the younger wide receivers. You can get them for relatively cheap. It seems like there's still guys in like the fifth, sixth round where I'm like, okay, these are still young guys that I'm interested
yeah,
in. They're
yeah.
not pushed up all the way into that range where like the Waddle types were going. And then like the middle, like fifth round through 10th round is just prime, like Adams, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, like you said, like, so you can kind of get that texture that you were talking about. Um, and
Like
it
here,
just gives you
here, here.
a lot.
I have an ADP kind of pulled up. This is, from South Herman's,
Yeah.
site. So if you look at, um, in the, seventh round, you can get George Pickens, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, right? Depending upon how you've started the first 6 rounds of your draft, you're either going to go Pickens because you need some liquidity or some youth, or you can go right into one of those two aging players, right? You can bounce around and make some good decisions and kind of build up like we do through a best ball rim, right? We want to start at the bottom and work our way up. You do the same thing in Dynasty. You can figure out where the pockets are. And so you can see how you want to structure that build, how you want to make a trade, to move out of a third round or a fourth round and move back and pick up some extra value.
Yeah. Like, yeah. So like, I mean, obviously Devonta Smith, Nico's a weird one where it's like, I think he's appropriately priced.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just I don't know. It's like Devonta, Nico, DJ Moore, Pittman, all these guys. Like I get why they're going here, but I definitely think like if you can in a startup or otherwise try to move back, get like an Adams plus or get one of these other guys plus. Um, that's what I would be trying to do, and it does feel really nice right now because I think in years past I was going uh it felt like all the quarterbacks in the first round were really getting pushed up. Where this year I feel like you can get a guy who can give you an advantage in warp in terms of Justin Jefferson, Lamb, Chase, and then come back
Mhm.
around with like a. I mean, I'm a big Kyler guy, so I've been taking a lot of Kyler in the second round, but um, I don't know. Drafts this time of year feel a lot better than they have in the past, and I just really whatever. We don't have to go super deep into startup strategy and everything right now because it'll be very long winded. I'll be doing a video on Monday about that. But do you have any other like general thoughts about structure, like at this time of year, or just in general, based on what you're seeing from
Yeah.
ADP and other stuff around the space?
So I think, quarterback's another one that I've been kind of beating the drum on a little bit. I'm very much a guy that attacks quarterbacks that are the Kyler A. Rich, profile. Hurts Allen, right? Like those are the profiles that I prefer and like. And then I just arbitrage the passing quarterbacks. And so guys like Stroud, Burrow, Herbert, like I don't take them. And I know people hate it when I say that because I'm just like, it's just, I would rather just trade out because, or pivot off of them into more liquidity because I think, I think that's another like best ball lesson a little bit, right? Is like you see these passing QBs kind of priced up, but oftentimes their production is more volatile, than the guys that have some of the rushing production. And so you can have a Baker, Cousins, Dak competing with the likes of the Stroud, Burrow, and you spent way less capital, on those quarterbacks. You don't have the long term, right? If you are playing to think about it from a 5-year standpoint, right? I get it, but I'm not playing like that. I'm playing in a 1-year window, and I'm not using or counting on those guys for liquidity. And so I'm trying to score the most points and trying to do it with the least cost as possible. And so those guys become kind of an arbitrage opportunity for me. And so like Lawrence QB9 on this ADP startup, his keep trade cut is lower than that. So he's probably, seen by the market a little bit lower, but people get into a draft and they're still drafting him in the middle of the second, right? But you can't get that in the market, right? Like you try to move in the market, just they're not interested. I am because I think that he's just as a good arbitrage opportunity as a QB 12 out there off of a Burrow, Herbert, Stroud. So I think that's another one that I'm trying to encourage people to do, and it's the way I play. Like I don't talk about it unless it's the way I play. That's what my portfolio looks like.
Yeah, I think I ate some shit last year because I think I got too far down the rabbit hole of getting to elite QBs. And I was like, so I was trading up in startups. I was trying to get whatever, 2 of the top 10-ish guys, and using a lot of capital to go and do that. And it felt safe and cozy at the time, but I think the results were not so good because it left my team super thin. And yeah, I mean, realistically, like obviously there's going to be seasons where Burrow throws 40 touchdowns and Herbert throws 40 touchdowns. Well, maybe not now that Greg Roman's there, but you're going to miss out on some of those like crazy seasons from the pocket passers. But I think as a whole, it's good to arbitrage off them, like you said, because yeah, like realistically, there's going to be maybe a few points per game difference, like on the grand scheme of things. Whereas Justin Jefferson, Lamb, Chase, whoever the next whatever guy that ascends can give you such a big warp advantage over the field at wide receiver. So yeah, I've been trying to do what you're saying, like try to move some of those guys. I feel like the dynasty market has gotten a lot sharper, even in the couple of years that I've been playing, where it's a little bit harder to do that. But like a Justin Herbert, for example, I've been trying to move either for one of those receivers or for like a Purdy or something like that, like the kind of like the 3rd round guys that are getting pushed down a little bit. Plus, but it's been tough. But I definitely agree that that's a strategy that people should be trying to implement.
Well, and you're feeling it in the market, right? Like you're trying
Absolutely.
to move Herbert, right? Last year, people have been buying it off of you. And now and that's how fast it can flip for some of these passing quarterbacks.
So
because
quick,
they have this artificial dynasty value and you can't return them. You can't go cash it in for liquidity and go pivot into something else with it. And so now you're like, well, what do I do? Do I ride it out and hope his market likability increases, right? Kind of coming back to the start of the conversation, because he's not well liked right now. And there's a negative, conversation around what his output could be this year. It's hard to move, but you see him, he's still going QB7, that's one where I disagree with the ADP. And I don't think it's really reflective of what his liquidity is, on the market.
Yeah, that is the weird thing, because I think one thing that has helped me is to think about things in terms of startup value, in terms of trading, in terms of just kind
Mhm.
of like conceptualizing things. But I don't think it's perfect, because like, yeah, like you said, like that's an example where there is a difference between a startup and like an established league, where in a startup it's like, yeah, there's a scarcity at quarterback where people push quarterbacks up in most leagues. um but it's weird, because I think last year we did run so bad on just quarterback injuries that I wonder like if they'll get pushed up a little bit, just because of like if guys stay healthy. That's the one like thing that I feel like I have to weigh a little bit. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to go like one of whatever. If I think Hertz is a huge value right now. I know right now in ADP he's 103, but in my experience in the leagues I've been seeing, like people are pushing him down a little bit just because he has some
Yep.
funk around him.
Yep.
So like a Hertz, a
Yeah.
Kyler is still way too cheap in my opinion. Like you were
Yep.
mentioning him. Um, I'm not. I even think Dak, like where he's falling compared to like he's going to score pretty similarly to like a Burrow or Herbert or something like that. I think that's a good arbitrage opportunity. And then otherwise, just attack it. Take a Stafford, take a Geno, take some of these guys later, and just stack a few of them, and you'll be able to get relatively similar production from those guys. So
Yeah, I agree that you can contextualize your quarterback room. It doesn't have to be. You can build it, with Hertz, and then go very late with a bunch of guys. You can build it through, Dak, and Tua, right, or Dak and Deshaun Watson, right? Like those guys' careers are far from over, right? But they're being treated, like
as a
there's
good
2 years
dynasty.
left in their career, and they're getting the same expected points per game as Stroud, and Burrow, right? They're right there or more. And so, yeah, it's a interesting way to play it. Thinking through outcomes that they can have for the year. And those 40 touchdown seasons, those are pretty rare. Like I know people are like, Herbert threw for 38 TDs in his second year, and they're anchoring to that, and he hasn't been above like 25 in the past 2 years. And I know there's injuries, and I know there's different factors, but still, like to throw 38 touchdowns a year, that's pretty hard to do. That's not He's not Mahomes, right? Like he's not, and Mahomes can't do that every year. So just to expect that's what he's going to do, and that's what's holding up a lot of his value. That's what I hear is why people are still interested in Herbert. That's fine. I'm gonna play off of that, and I'm gonna go down the tier, and go find some quarterbacks that can help me win at lower costs.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, it's like, is that really a bet you're willing to make? Is like, okay, are they going to have that 40 touchdown season the year that I have them this year, right? Like it could,
Right.
like you said, it could happen, but it's like, what are the chances of it? Um,
Yeah.
the other position that's really interesting right now is tight end for me, because we see obviously Laporta emerged, McBride emerged, but it's like for so long, it just felt so bad. It was basically like Kelsey, and then we thought Pitts was going to be the next guy. We had Andrews, who had a really big season a few years ago, and then has had some kind of down seasons with injury. Where it's like, really, if you didn't have one of those three guys, it's like I felt really comfortable just punting to like whatever, just a few guys later, like Njoku, like whatever, those kind of guys. Um, Now it's like I don't know if it's just artificially like this time of year that it feels really good, but with Bowers coming in, with Kincaid even, um, like you can get guys like we see here in Joku, Kittle, Kelsey is still going at 705. I think probably this is from January and February, so probably
Yep.
it'll go up a little bit.
Yep.
Um, but it just feels like there's so much more flexibility. Whereas last year I was like always prioritizing one of those top three guys. And I think it just feels a lot better than it has in a long time. So I hope I'm not jinxing the tight end landscape, but feels very
Well,
good.
why do you feel good about it? What's making you feel comfortable with it?
It's just that there's more options that I think have ceiling in terms of just their profile, their situation. Like even Kincaid, I don't think he's like some I don't think he's some world beater, but I mean, rookie tight end who, all things considered, like put up a very, very strong rookie season.
Mhm.
Maybe Diggs is gone. Mark Andrews is extremely mispriced in my opinion. Like I think he has tight end one upside. He's going in the fifth round in this ADP. Um, Kelsey, we said going back further than that. Kittle is like a little inconsistent, but I still think like if you have Kittle as your tight end, he still has the upside of giving you a 30-point week in a week you need, which I think is pretty valuable. And then even like I don't think Ingram is some world beater either, but like 8-11 seems really cheap for a guy that just put up a in tight end 0.5 tight end premium, like 16 something points per game, which is pretty
Yeah.
strong. So it just feels like it's not necessarily, it's just that it felt so scarce before. Whereas now I still think obviously um there's a maybe it goes kind of backwards where it's like, okay, now you really need a guy that's a difference maker if there are more options. But just from like a team building perspective, it just was like there's not as much scarcity in terms of the three guys in the top that you just really need to go after. So
Yeah. I agree. I think there's lots of options. If you miss out on Laporta or McBride, you're not looking at it, your your tight end 12 producing like 8 points, like that's what it's been for such a long time. Those guys have kind of come up a little bit at the back end of the top 12 tight ends. But then you've also, the top end scoring for tight ends is down, right? And I think we're going to look back and just realize how special Kelsey was
yeah,
with Mahomes, right? Because his leap started once Mahomes became his quarterback. And then he started putting up these 18-point seasons, as a tight end. I think he's got 3 above 18 or 4 above 18 in the past like 5 years. And we're probably never going to see that again. Andrews has been the closest one, right, to do it. Him and Waller. But for the top end tight end to give you, in a 0.5 premium, 16 points or 15 points, that's pretty good. And you
yeah,
got a couple guys that can do that between McBride and Kincaid and Andrews, Laporta, even Hawkinson. Hawkinson actually had probably better peripherals than the others. He's probably the
we did, yeah,
closest to the Kelsey, situation because he's the receiver too on their team. He gets red zone looks. His A dot is, I think it was above 7 or near 8. That was kind of what was weird about tight end this year is their A dots, like collectively as a league, went down. They're traditionally, above 8, and they're like in the sixes for a lot of them. Kittle was one of the few that had an A dot over 9. Still, he doesn't get a ton of red zone looks because of how their offense runs through McCaffrey at the goal line, but
sure.
he's such an explosive player that he can keep himself up there with the volume that he gets. So, yeah, so you can play tight in a lot of different ways. I think the only thing that people get themselves trapped up with is if they put too much capital in the tight end, it's hard to go realize that liquidity in the market. If you take Laporta and you take Kincaid, and then you're like, oh, I need to go fix receiver. Like it's hard to use one of those guys to go fix that. And so I think that's another kind of trap sometimes is you're like, I got this falling Kincaid, but then I'll try to go sell him on the market. It's hard to sell him for the price you got and to go pivot it into something, like receiver or quarterback. It's just something that the market itself, when you try to go cash that in, is not going to treat the same as what you've had in a startup.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess the flip side of there being so many options is that it doesn't whatever, like those guys don't stack. I mean, I guess probably Laporta, maybe a McBride, but for the rest of them, it's like it's all just kind of one big grouping. So it's like they're
Yeah.
not going to stand out and you're not going to be able to get the value that you really want.
Yeah.
Any other closing dynasty thoughts before we hop in a big board?
Yeah, I would say that in Dynasty, um, you're better off treating it more like redraft and going to go win than trying to drag it out for like 3 years and hope for the best. That's really turned into my go-to kind of philosophy with Dynasty. I'm not trying to forego value, while doing it, but I think that it's so hard to predict year to year what's going to happen in the NFL that, and even Dynasty leagues, like I mean, our chip chasing one folded after 2 years, right? Like how long a league stays open, right, is variable. And so
Absolutely.
if you're trying to play for the next 3 years and your league folds and you can never realize what you put in, um, you're better off, in my opinion, trying to win early and trying to continue to win, because Dynasty is not forever. That's the new wave of Dynasty, and it's much different than it was years ago, where people were only playing Dynasty through people they knew, and through leagues that they thought were going to last for 20 years. That's just not the reality of what Dynasty is played like today. I know Scott and Ray have had some stats, but like Dynasty is a growing format for fantasy football. There's more and more people signing up. Sleeper is a big part of that. And that new Dynasty player is in and out of leagues on a frequent basis. And you you better go get your money and go get a win, and then start to play the long game. I think that'd probably be my last piece of advice.
Yeah, I saw the South Harmon guys talking about that as well, where it's like it's really exploded over the last few years.
Hmm.
In part, like you said, in big part to sleeper and just the accessibility of it. Yeah, I commissioned a lot of leagues, and I definitely can say, yeah, I had a lot of people in January after the season was done just leave, and we have to pick up the pieces. So I definitely agree with people should people more people should approach it from like a year to year basis of just how can I get the most expected value out of this year and not necessarily just think 2 3 years down the line. I think it's just not going to it's too hard. The NFL is too unpredictable to predict that far out,
Yeah.
like from a macro basis. um okay, yeah, well, yeah, I really appreciate your insights too, because Destination Debbie or something are some people that I follow pretty closely. South Harmon. Obviously, I'll plug the Bulletproof Discord as well, and Jacob are, I think, very sharp guys as well. But good to hear your perspectives and kind of how you approach Dynasty in general. So thanks so much.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I love talking about Dynasty. So, and I'll give a plug for the DD Discord. I'm part of the Heisman group that's in there. They have a voice chat. I mean, we probably spent 4 hours in there today talking about combine stuff. Ray and I are going over their Trinity tool, and we're talking through some different receivers. I mean, we spent 4 hours the other day talking about tight ends and going through different stats and stuff. And so, if there's other people that are interested in Dynasty, I'm not a content creator over there. I'm just a player that loves talking football all day. If you're really interested in a lot of Dynasty conversations, we spend a good amount of time in there kind of talking at 24/7. So,
Nice. Yeah. I am not in that Discord. I am in many Discords, other Dynasty and basketball Discords, but I'll have to hop in that one as well and talk some ball with you guys, because yeah, I'm the same way. Like if it were up to me, I could talk about this stuff literally all day, every day. So
Bendels, I'm not joking, man. We're in there. There's a voice chat. Somebody's in voice chat talking about a trade or a situation or something, right? Going 24/7 in that thing. I mean, literally right now, there's 12 people. Ray and Scott are talking through something live in the Discord right now. So,
hell yeah.
yeah.
Honestly, yeah, that's the nice part about ship chasing, about bulletproof, about I'm trying to think some other ones I'm in. Dynasty I am, legendary upside. I've joined
Yep.
Liam's. It's like finding people with that are like-minded and just are also just as sick as I am is nice, and just being able to talk through stuff. Whatever, and just whatever, bounce trade ideas off of whatever. If you're doing best ball draft, get some feedback on that. It's an invaluable tool, because especially if you're newer, That's really how you learn, is just either making mistakes or outsourcing stuff to other people who are smart, like all these different discords or other content creators. I think that's the fastest way to catch yourself up to speed and just always be learning. So
100%.
um alrighty, let's I'm not sure how quick these are filling these days, but why don't we hop in a big board and get it going.
All
um
right.
So wait, are you saying that you have you done any big board drafts yet?
No, I have not. So this is my first one of the year. Um, and so I'm excited to kind of jump in and see what's going on. I took a peek at ADP on Rotoviz kind of earlier. So it's interesting to see kind of how the boards looks at this time of year and what's available to us. But, you know, I mean, as much as I love fantasy football, I'm not going to lie. I need a break. I need a break for a little bit. Um, we're getting, just trying to do some um, management, funds. Right? Can't spend it all now. Got to prepare for the year. And because I'm in North Carolina, Underdog is and the sports books are all getting released this year. So
Oh, nice.
I'm anxious to see and set aside some funds for some betting and some of the content that I think Underdog is going to release, or games that they're going to release, in this upcoming year. So, yeah, it's gonna be a long year. Don't have infinite funds, so we're gonna we're gonna attack it in different ways. So,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's gotten pretty crazy how year round it is now. Like, I mean, even a couple of years ago, it was like whatever. People kind of took a break until the NFL draft. So whether that's like late April, and now it's like the big board dropped like 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, which is
right? Yeah.
pretty crazy to think about.
It is, and so just trying to practice some patience. But yeah, it is now a year-round event, so you can you can draft fantasy football all year round and get um, your interest, whether it's in Dynasty or best ball redraft, ready to go. So. Are you planning on doing all the big board, or did you do some of the little board drafts before?
I have only been doing them on stream.
Okay.
So uh and I more digging into Dynasty this time of year, just because yeah, I don't want to blow all my money like you're saying on best ball drafts. But in terms of content, I've definitely been consuming a lot of best ball content. So yeah. And I
Well,
appreciate your ability to take a step away, because I cannot take a step away. So
I mean, I did take on an orphan and did a dispersal, so that was about a week. So
okay.
we were just Chase was talking in the DD Discord. He's like, I want to do a startup. I'm like, dude, we're not even to June yet. Like we need an auction startup saved for June and July. That'll get us through that month. Okay. I was like, we can't do that now. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I'm
that's a format. Have you tried that in Dynasty auction
you
format in
know what?
Dynasty?
That is the one format that I have not tried, and I've heard Ray talking about it and being super into it. It sounds
Yeah.
super fun. So I might have to do one of those this summer. Yeah.
Yeah. I have not as well. I've done like real time fast auctions, but I have not done like a slow auction proxy setup for Dynasty. So I didn't. I was in the middle of relocating when some of those were going down under Underdog or with DD, and I'm excited to get my hands on one come this summer. So looks like
Nice.
we got the 10 spot. So
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of back end of the first round. I mean, I don't hate it, honestly. It's not a bad range for sure. We have a few guys in here. We got Chipsy in here. We got I think I know Best Ball and El Kamish is my co-host on Wednesdays. So got some guys I know.
Yeah, I saw he got you the Lions helmet, right?
Dude,
So
you don't know how hype I was about that. That was crazy because he finished 15th place in BBM this year. So he had a good year, and we started early, like around this time last year, doing some best ball drafts. So yeah, he I'm very gracious to him for sending me that. I'm gonna try to. I don't have a great office set up right now. I'm just in the bedroom, but I'm gonna try to set it up in the background so it increases my stream appeal a little bit.
I mean, you gotta fly your team, right? I mean, if your Lions are your team, you got to put up some display for those guys, and had a hell of a year, right? Like, yeah, and you got your coach coming back, so it should be a very exciting time there in Detroit.
Yeah, we the backstory on that too is he's a big he was a big Sam Laporta guy. Like he was probably like the earliest of anybody just going all in on Sam Laporta. And obviously he was on his BBM team that finished really well, and in Dynasty, obviously a huge hit as well coming like whatever. He was going late second round a lot of times in rookie
Yeah.
drafts. So yeah, it's kind of he called it the Sam Laporta Trophy when he sent it to me. So
Well, we're on the
uh,
clock here. We got Puka, Gibbs, Garrett. What's your lean for starting out back here?
I mean, I would love a Puga share right here. I'm pretty good with that.
All right, I'm in on Puka too. So we will start with Puka. How are
Um,
you? How are you treating Puka in Dynasty? What was your take on him, kind of starting the year, and how did you react as the year went on?
So, so one of my good friends in the Bulletproof Discord analyst is DSP4150 on Twitter, Dplot. He is a big wide receiver charting guy. That's kind of his specialization. So we had every week he would do kind of some charting on the numbers for the receivers, and he was kind of pushing that we should be all in on Puka pretty early. So unfortunately, I didn't buy into him when he was going for like second round picks after that first or second game. But I definitely tried to acquire as many shares as I could. I don't think I have too much, maybe like 10% or something like that. But
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because okay, we're up. So
Oh wow.
what's
I mean, we got a Gibbs that fell to us here, right?
yeah, I don't think he falls too often. So yeah, I'm let's go for Gibbs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was not thinking Gibbs. I was really thinking DJ Moore was going to be the call there, but yeah, Gibbs coming back around is very interesting there for me.
Yeah, I think El Coach and I did a kind of a wide receiver heavy draft on Wednesday, and it turned out pretty well. So I think he's switching it up and going wide receiver heavy there at the 12 spot there. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, on Puka, I think if he weren't a guy that went in the fifth round, I think he might be going even higher than he is already. Like I think he's going late
Mhm.
second round in startups. So yeah, I mean, and like we were talking about, I'm more comfortable going wide receiver in this late second round of startups than I have been in the past, and I don't know. I'm pretty into him. I think you can make a debate that he should be like wide receiver probably five, but um, I don't know. I think the time was really like in the season when people still had their doubts about him. I think it's pretty hard to acquire him right now, but I don't know. I don't think there's anything really bad to say about him. I don't think he's mispriced. I think for a guy that just put up the season he did as a rookie, we should be feel pretty comfortable about him. So
Yeah, I think he was my biggest lesson learned. I think the capital, you don't see somebody that's that kind of a pick, coming out and doing what he's doing. And to your point, my reaction was to sell him for a second,
Yeah.
right? I'm in the DD Discord and we're talking about it, and I'm like, sell for a second, and Ray's going, Josh, you don't want to do that. This is not something you sell for a second. Even if he falls back to a third round value, you want to ride this one out, right? And I was also speaking from a situation where I had zero puka. I was just looking at it from hey, if I had puka, I'd sell for a second. But probably if I had one, I probably wouldn't have done it. And I think that was a lesson for me. Like, one, don't kind of, it's important to kind of speak from where your situation is, whether you have a player or not, when you're thinking through, that kind of decision. And then two, really taking a step back and evaluating, okay, what is this player and what's his profile really? Looks like we're up on the clock. Well, it looks
Um,
like
yeah, I mean, what are you thinking here in terms of these neighbors, ETN, kind of this
uh,
big group of receivers here?
I mean, I think ETN is falling a falling running back again. So are we staring in the face of an avalanche? It kind of feels like it. Why don't
Yeah,
we
if you're gonna
go
go
neighbors?
neighbors, yeah.
Yeah. When we go neighbors and let's see what comes back around.
Yeah.
Because I think from here, I kind of like Drake London in this spot, and then we have a few other kind of running backs. Even if ETN doesn't come back around, we'll force them to make a decision here because they
Yeah.
could.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, both of these guys are receiver heavy, so I could see them going with ETN or just trying to lean into the. Yeah, there he goes with ETN there. So
Okay, so let's talk through the receivers then, because you said London you liked. If London goes, who else are you leaning here?
I mean, I'm okay with Devonta or Cup. I would have those guys ahead of Higgins for me. Um, so I think that three right there is fine for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good for London or Cup.
What do you think is going to happen with Higgins? Do you think he stays in Cincy? Do you think it's a sign and trade? What are you anticipating they do?
Yeah, I think he's gonna stay. I think he's gonna stay, and then maybe um I think one more year, and then I think they'll try to ride it out one more year. I mean, for all my Yoshivas shares, I would love if he were to leave, but I don't think it makes sense for them to get rid of him.
Well, it
Yeah,
looks like we've got London.
yeah, I'm down. I'm super into
You
London.
good? All right,
Yeah.
cool. We'll go London there. So
So yeah, why don't you talk about London and kind of you brought him up even before we were on the clock. So what are your thoughts on him and the whole Atlanta situation?
um I still think London's a good receiver. I think, what he did his rookie year showed what he's capable of achieving. I think, they ran into whatever the hell Arthur Smith was running and some poor quarterback, variance with Desmond Ritter. And so I think with the transition of the coaching staff, Zach Robinson, I know it's projecting, but he certainly has spent most of his coaching career in the McVay and Shanahan system, more McVay. So, I'm thinking that this team is going to run a lot more 11 personnel, and they're going to be focused on having a quarterback that can distribute the ball. That's what at the combine they've been talking about, whether it's Raheem Morris. I was listening to the Athletic and Rossini kind of talk through. She doesn't seem to think that they have an interest in Fields at all, and that the Fields narrative to Atlanta is just a bit overblown. So they seem to be much more interested. And she was talking heavily about Kirk Cousins in Atlanta a lot, and that being a much better fit than a field. So I think London is in a situation where he's going to get a quarterback that can distribute, and hopefully we can start to realize some of his talent in this coming year.
Yeah, I think it was. I always get the two mixed up. It's NFL Stock Exchange and Dynasty Stock Exchange, but NFL Stock Exchange, those guys did their like kind of combine rumors episode, and I listened to that, and they were saying they think that the probably the most likely outcome is Kirk is going to want to leave just based on he's probably going to want a fully guaranteed contract
Mhm.
for 3 years, and they don't think that the Vikings are going to give him that, and he can definitely get it somewhere else if he wants. So unless Kirk is just really wants to kind of stay in the situation he's in and with Minnesota, I think Atlanta is probably the most likely outcome. It seems like a pretty good marriage between what Atlanta wants and what Kirk would want with all the weapons and kind of getting the contract he wants. So, yeah, I mean, my Kyle Pitts and Drake London cheers would be screaming if that happens. So,
What do you think? I'm struggling with the Pitts outcome in this new offense, and maybe we can talk a little bit once we get past this pick here. So
sure.
um, we've got our boy McBride coming up, Walker, Andrews, and then we got a slew of receivers. His receivers starting to really thin out here. So
Ooh, so we got sniped on McBride. I don't love these running backs here. So I think I'd either lean Andrews or whoever your pick of receivers here is. But what are you thinking here?
I'm kind of leaning receiver. I think
Okay.
that
Yeah.
um, if we can go with like probably a Kirk would
Yeah.
be
I'm
my
I'm
kind
down
of
for
vote
that.
here. Okay. Um, yeah, we'll have plenty of running back options coming back through if we want, or hopefully your our coach will take take a running back, then some out. I guess we'll see. That doesn't sound like his mo to do that. So
There you
he
go,
took
Kenneth
Walker.
Walker, the
Okay.
the the value hound of Kenneth Walker right there. Let's see. Don't love JSN, honestly. Like I get the outs with kind of
Yeah.
new offensive coordinator and maybe Lockett leaving, but I don't know. Doesn't seem like a super comfy click at this 62 ADP.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is probably a little overpriced. It's hard to say what that offense is going to look like. So, do you want to go another running back here? This will be our second one for
Um,
this.
don't really love these running backs to be completely honest.
Do you want a Kincaid? Is that what you want to do?
I'm fine with Kincaid. I'm fine with Hopkins or JSN. Whatever you go with your
Let's let's
gut here.
let's go with Hopkins here. Let's go with Hopkins.
We're going the leg up uh homeboys here with Kirk and Hopkins, who they've been pushing a lot. So
I haven't been able to catch up to some of those. So are they? Wait, is Kareem touting some olds? Is he touting?
he's touting
Kirk?
Kirk and Hopkins. He's been there. I think they're high on both of those guys. So
Let's,
let's see. Right through 6 rounds, we started Puka in round 1, Jahmyr Gibbs, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Christian Kirk, and Hopkins. So I feel like we got our anchor running back. We got a super solid receiver room so far, which I think will give us some flexibility as we get into these later rounds and just be able to take who falls to us in the value that comes. So feel pretty good.
yeah. I think that I like the options that we've got here. I think there was one player. I just pulled up the ranks here. I wasn't even thinking about, but we'll see if he did go off the board there. Brian Thomas. Pat has him at receiver 29. I didn't realize he had him that high up the board there. So that's an interesting thought experiment for Brian Thomas to be there. So I guess with the first round capital, um, I guess I can see it being somebody to go after and target.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few people talk about he might be a post combine riser, and right now he's projected to go probably mid-ish second first round. So definitely think he could get pushed up like as we get closer to the season once all those things are solidified. So yeah, I think he's whatever. He's definitely a target for me. Like after this, I mean, it's just so tough with wide receiver after kind of like after Brian Thomas and Watson go. So
Yeah. What do you like here in the seventh?
let's see what falls to us. I think this is a good range for quarterbacks. I'm not sure what stacks we could see if anything would come to us, but otherwise, running back, we have some good options, and quarterback. I feel like what's available at tight end. I'm assuming Bowers went. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say.
I think Bauer just went. Brett really Ingram and Joku, Pitts.
Huh.
Um,
Let's. I say we target. Why don't we switch over to running back and quarterback tabs and see. Let's talk through it together. So we don't have any stacks here. I mean,
no,
I like Kyler. I don't know if we have any. We could wait for like a T Law or a Stafford or something later. What we're gonna get autoed here. What do you want? What do
let's
you
just
want
go
to do?
Kyler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, quick
we'll go with
fingers.
this. We'll go with the safe pick. We know we both like Kyler, so we'll go with we'll go with Kyler there. So
So yeah, and then maybe we can get what running back do you prefer here in this range? I mean, these are all kind of old dusty guys.
yeah, I have one kind of main priority here. So we'll see if he comes back around. Um, which would be Jalen Warren. So and there he goes. God.
Oh,
So
okay. So
um,
do we want to go one of these old dusty running backs, or do we want to push it and just hammer it later? We do have an anchor, so like I don't
I,
think we need to take one.
I don't think so. I think we can go with somebody like Njoku at this
Yeah,
point in time, right? Um,
that
and
feels nice.
and see. I don't. Yeah, as far as the running backs go, I think I think we can continue to kind of fade that a little bit and see what comes back around. So
Yeah, I just don't think there's any reason to push up any of those guys. Like, um, so we're at 1-1-5-1. Kyler, Jameer Gibbs. We have Puka, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Hopkins, and then Njoku at tight end. So I feel like this is playing out with the pockets pretty well, where we can get some good. I feel like the next couple rounds are pretty nice for running backs, either rookies, or some other guys that could. I feel like traditionally that's a good range for running backs, is like this like ninth, 10th round range. So I think there's some good options.
I, I see we're at the point of the leg up ranks where it's just like a solid green block, and
Yeah.
we're just picking picking the running backs that we prefer in that range. So um, yeah, I think we're gonna have plenty of options to kind of work with here to fill that in. So
I think someone was saying that Chipsy is he's auto drafting with the leg up ranks. So that's interesting. How is his let's check out his team really quick while we have a second. We
there we
got
go. So he started Tyreek, Allen, Tank, Kelsey, Mahomes. So two early quarterbacks. Um, that's interesting. Um,
two early tight ends.
and two early tight ends. I don't know if the leg up ranks are working. If that's what's, I don't know if that's the way he planned it out. So,
I feel like he's
uh,
gonna have to catch up at wide receiver. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. So, is best ball guy, is that Polak? I see you said a sorry about Warren. I mean, it's a good pick. Like, I don't
Yeah.
blame you for taking him. So, um, yeah, no worries. So it happens. But
Um. So yeah, because I feel like I like taking the receivers early, especially because I feel like there's a lot of rookies late. So it's like if we took like what if we took five early and we can take um, two or three late. I feel like that's like the optimal way to play it right now, where we get our solid five or six, and then we get the upside shots late with guys that could we could get some CLV later. I think feel like that's the way to play it right now. Not taking two elite quarterbacks early and two tight ends. So
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've got. Lawrence is still technically on the board if we wanted to go back into QB.
yeah,
But Stafford goes late. The Levis goes late. So
Watson with
even Watson with Njoku is some late stacking. So with us on the clock, do you want to dip back into running back, or is there another player that's sticking
um
out to you?
yeah. Can you switch over to the running back tab and let's see? I mean, I don't love Swift or Chase Brown to be completely honest, but I feel like this is probably a good range for running back. Do you have a strong lean between those guys or anybody else?
I'd say let's lean Chase Brown for now,
Okay.
and then let's see what kind of comes back around. So
Okay.
take
Yeah.
an upside shot there. So
Yeah, I definitely think he looked pretty solid in the opportunities he did have. Kind of a Jalen Warren-y type guy, explosive, and
mhm.
I mean, who knows what'll happen with that backfield, but it's definitely not a prohibitive cost at this price. So
Yeah, and Swift, while performing, okay in his situation that he had, I think, this free agent market is going to be pretty wild when it comes to running back. So, and Swift goes off the board. So, any particular player that's standing
I
out to
don't
you?
I don't really have any strong lean here to be completely honest. Because running back, who's the best available? It's Chuba and
Brooks?
Brooks. I'm fine with Chuba. I don't know. It's a little bit ahead of ADP. Otherwise, I say we push quarterback. So if there's a wide receiver or tight end you like, but otherwise I'm fine with Chuba.
Probably just take Chuba at this point in time.
Yeah, these wide
Um,
receivers are pretty gross. Mike Williams, Shakir, Keon, Coleman. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I think there's I I don't know about Brooks. I know I know the desire is to see him used more as a hammer towards the end of the year, and not kind of coming on. I don't know if that really works here. I think if we had two or earlier running backs, I think he probably would be a better fit. But I think the Brooks bet is going to be yeah, chips. Yeah, yeah, experimenting. Yeah. So that's fun. Yeah, we were definitely in an avalanche draft. We definitely got bit up on receivers quite early in this one. So definitely felt like a chip chasing. Feels like a chip chasing draft for sure. So
Yeah, I think we got some chip chasing guys and some other people watching that I think push some people up. But yeah, I agree on Brooks. And I think it's just in this weird time period right now where it's like kind of people are pushing him into that number one rookie running back spot. And I just think it's so ambiguous right now. And like there's so many guys that could emerge with the combine, with just whoever gets the better draft capital. And
mhm.
I don't think I don't think Brooks is like so far and ahead that I necessarily want to be betting on it with coming off the ACL. Just think there's a big grouping of guys that are all could get pushed up just based on the process. So, okay, so we have one quarterback, so we have some options to stack up late, like we talked about at quarterback. Running back, we have three, so we have some flexibility here if we want to take either some running backs that fall to us, if any receivers fall to us, and we have one tight end. So probably, how do you think we should approach tight end? Kind of knowing, I know you haven't been digging super deep into these drafts so far. I feel like we could go two, but the 20 rounds definitely leaves us open for three.
I think this is a three tight end. I think with Njoku we can go, you know, um, three tight ends. So where we're looking at like I don't know, a two or a three. Was it a 3-7-3? Is that what that breaks out to be?
Yeah.
Oh, we're on the clock now.
Um,
Uh, I got a running back target.
yeah,
Um,
go ahead. I mean, yeah,
I, I,
I don't
I
think we
like
need Daniels on this team just based on how our build is going, but
Charbonnet is a guy that I'm interested in. I think I think that offense for Seattle is going to be better. I'm not expected to to be all fireworks up there, but it certainly be better than it was last year. I think it really underperformed. I think with McDonald coming in and the OC that they brought in from Washington, the Huskies, he was with that head coach for the Huskies going back to his Fresno State days in 2017. So all they've done is throw the ball. All they've done is be pushing it down the field, and they're an offensive team that is looking to open it up. Hopefully, McDonald brought him in to do that, or at least improve the offensive output. I think some people think McDonald, defensive head coach, defensive minded, Ravens for most of his career, 1 year with Michigan, that he might be a little run heavy. Either way, I think it can work in some of his favor when it comes to Charbonnet because he got on a per touch snap basis more green zone touches and more targets than Walker. Certainly, Walker's got the big playability, but Charbonnet is still a good counter, to what they have in there. So I'm really interested to see how that backfield kind of breaks out this year.
yeah, I think okay, so we're back on the clock. Anybody standing out to you here?
Kind of thinking receiver, and we could dip into Michael Wilson for the stack, which would be a little earlier, or we can go with Ladd and see if Michael Wilson comes back.
Um, I kind of lean Lad. I feel like he could be just rookie upside. I feel like I would
Okay,
lean over.
let's do
If,
let's do that.
if Wilson, if we were at or past ADP with Wilson, I'd be more down. But yeah, don't not a guy I'm like super jazzed about to stack.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. We can let him fall. Well, I know there's a good market for sentiment for trying to draft him high. So.
But yeah, on your Sharps point, yeah, I mean, I just think there's obviously new coaching staff. Like you said, I think Walker is like more talented just from like he has
Mhm.
one skill that's just really strong. But I think Sharps is way more well-rounded. And I just think he can kind of be a little more trusted from the coaching staff and whatever. If he is just contingent value, I think this is a fine price. And there's the ambiguity of just new situation, both second round picks, both still young. So I think he's a big target for me in this whatever, like pick 130-ish range. So what you want to run through the team really quick?
Yeah. So quarterback, we've got Kyler. Running back, well, the team's a 1-4-6-1 right now. So we got Kyler quarterback, Gibbs, Chase Brown, Hubbard, and Sharps at running back. Puka, Neighbors, London, Kirk, Hopkins, and McConkey. And then Njoku at tight end. So I'm liking some of the value we've got and some of the just the texture of players, whether it's youth or upside or target domination in their team. I think we got a good combination of mixtures here. So
Yeah, I feel like like we were talking about earlier, the pockets are kind of falling how we want them to fall, which is nice. And I think yeah, we got ahead of the Avalanche a little bit, so that's always good to
yeah,
not just get
yeah.
absolutely.
Not getting crushed by the avalanche was important there. There was a moment there. I think if we did the Kincaid or something else, we'd feel a little bit differently about the situation right now. So
Yeah, if we would have went ETN, that might have killed our draft.
that that would have really hurt. Probably that would have hurt.
Yeah, I think we can see if
What are you thinking
Watson.
here?
I'm fine with I think Mayer We could do Michael Wilson to stack up, but I think we have 6 receivers now, so don't think it's necessary. I think I lean Mayer or Watson. I like both those guys because cover off our second tight end or get the stack with Njoku.
I would say
What are
Watson.
you feeling? Yeah.
Yeah, that was twice now. I said it right before the picks. Watson's off the board.
Okay.
Um, that means we're going really. We got plenty to work with here at quarterback still. So, um, do we want to come back to Michael Wilson at this point in time, or do you want to take Mayer?
Um, we have another pick, so let's go Wilson, and then we can get one of these other tight ends on the way back.
Okay.
Roman Wilson, that's an interesting one. What are your thoughts? I know you were talking about him earlier. How are you feeling about him? What are you looking forward to at the combine for him? And just yeah, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think he's one that just kind of caught me by surprise as a prospect. Once I started digging into the numbers, I think he tested well when he was at the Senior Bowl. I think he's going to run well here at the combine, and I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that goes into the second round that a lot of teams are going to like. If I have my pick here, uh, I'd probably favor Roman Wilson or
Okay.
Braylon Allen here. One of those two. Do you
Yeah,
have a
let's go
preference?
rookie. Whatever guy you're feeling better about.
Let's go Braylon. Let's see. Let's go
Yeah.
just a little different. We probably have a few more depth options at receiver that we can go after as well. Man, I really wanted Watson. I thought that was going to be our pick, our guy,
That would,
our
it would have been just
second quarterback to pick up.
yeah, it would have fallen real nice to us. We were one pick away, but you know
One
what?
pick.
That's the negative of streaming is that people are listening to us and sniping us for their pleasure and our pain. So
Exactly. So, um, yeah. So I think I've heard a couple different comps coming out for Roman Wilson, which are fun. I think the one that's probably makes the most sense to me is the Lockett comparison. I think Brett Whitfield from Fantasy Points said it reminds him of like AB. I think that was a little. And if I'm wrong, if that wasn't Brett, I think that's who it was. But somebody compared him to AB, so that was kind of floating out there. Oh no, it was Mike Renner. It was Renner on Mina
Mike
Kimes'
Renner.
pod. That's what it was. He calls him to AB. So I think that's pretty bold. But I think if he ends up with a Lockett career, that's a pretty good career. That's a good player for fantasy. That can be a lot of fun. So we'll see where he goes and what kind of opportunity he gets going into this year. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these guys have some really good profiles. I'm really interested in thinking about what their opportunity looks like in year one, because I think that's going to play a lot into their success.
Yeah. Yeah, Roman Wilson, it's just so interesting with all the Michigan guys because it's like just the offense is so run heavy. They were up in so many games. It's like you really have to look at like the profile and not necessarily the production just because of that. And I think Roman Wilson, yeah, like you were saying, I think is probably going to get drafted second round because of the Senior Bowl hype, and I think he's probably going to run pretty fast from everything I'm seeing at the combine. So I think it's a pretty good bet to make at the cost he's going right now, considering some of the other receivers are going a lot ahead of him, and he could get similar draft capital. So yeah, okay.
All right,
Um,
what are you thinking here? What do you want to attack? Which position do you want to attack
I
here?
mean, I like Jatavian Sanders. He's a little bit of an ADP value. Otherwise, quarterback is looking. I feel like we probably got to attack quarterback, but I mean, I'm fine with any of these two guys. Did Levis go?
No. So why don't we do Sanders and then we have DJ, Carr, and Levis that can come around the turn here. So
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, because if we have some out for a few different guys, then that feels a little bit better that we're not locked out. So slick Ricky Pearsall going to El Coach.
Yeah, he's one that I feel like I don't really have a strong opinion on him. I see, I know Brett Whitfield has been talking about Pearsall. So, all right. So it looks like we got Carr, Levis. So we can go with Levis to stack with Hopkins.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
down for Levis. I'm pretty.
Okay.
This is a pretty good cost on Levis, I think.
Yeah. Um, so, I think that, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Pearsall is going to do. Maybe he shows up in the combine and puts some numbers up that drive his interest in the NFL draft. I just don't know how much the NFL is interested in him. So,
Yeah, I don't know. It just he doesn't have anything that's like stands out about his profile.
mhm.
Like it just seems he seems fine, but it's not like a guy where you're like, okay, this guy has one skill that can really push him up in the draft and get that requisite draft capital. So I don't know. I mean, we see so many receivers being mocked in like the second round, but I wonder if he maybe is one that if he doesn't run super amazing or put up good numbers and everything at the combine, he could fall a little bit. So
I agree. I think, yeah, there's a big range of outcomes. He's going to get drafted. Um, no, there was a guy that I really stood out to me when I started my prospect evaluation was Malik Washington. Every number I looked at, he just kept popping at the top of it in his college career. The only metric that he really was low in was his ADOT and his slot rate. He was primarily out of the slot, low ADOT, but yards per route run was like 3.2, like it was strong. Um, I mean, target domination in his fifth year. So a transfer from the terrible offense in Northwestern to a mediocre offense, I guess, in Virginia. But I mean, he put up a stellar senior year. I just hope that, I mean, the ship chasing crew, we love to fall in love with the Rondale Moores and the Sky Moores. And I'm hoping Malik Washington is not into that same bucket, but it is possible. I'm cautiously optimistic that the NFL is interested in Malik Washington more than just a slot receiver.
yeah, I saw Eric Bynford. That's one of the guys that he's been caping up for is Malik Washington. He got, like you said, kind of really bad situation to like a fine but still pretty bad situation, but really dominated targets, put up really good peripherals, and yeah, I mean, I think he has a good shot to get some decent draft capital, and yeah, you know what? Really, what I have to do is just make a clip for him and send it to Pete and get him steamed up, and then we can either whatever we can just get him out of our brain because then other
Yeah,
people will see it.
let's just get it over with, right? Let's just steam them up. The next one. So, um, I was kind of, I mean, I don't really want to take QB, but we're down to the very last few that would actually hold a starting role.
Yeah, do you want?
Um,
I'm fine with Bryce Young. I mean,
all right,
he's
let's,
gonna start. I mean, it's not sexy, but he's gonna start, right? I mean, I
yep,
hope.
yep, yep. Is there anybody that we can pair him with? Um, Mingo is still out there.
I mean,
A gross Mingo. We got Rondale Moore, Chark. Um, yeah,
we could
yeah,
hope that we could take a. I mean, we could just take rookies and hope that they draft a rookie. But if Mingo's there, we could go him. We still only have
we have 3 picks
uh
left, right?
um we have 3 picks left.
So we really got to go running back, tight end, receiver. Is that kind
Yeah,
of the
I think
structure we need to go after, right?
I would say I would say that would be what we can go for. So I think if because what running backs are available here? Because I mean, we could go Mingo. Um, let's see what running backs. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of running backs. None of these guys are really that much different from each other. So,
I would say,
do you have any running back targets that stand above the rest, or let's not get sniped?
yeah, I think I think Shipley went off the board already.
Yeah, I like Shipley.
Um, yeah, Ray Davis and Wright are gone. Carter with Arizona is kind of interesting there. With Kyler maybe. He's an option, I think. That
Sure, I'm down for that. Or if you want to go Mingo and just finish off at wide receiver, because I think Carter goes a little bit later.
um,
That's fine.
well,
Let's just go.
that's fine.
I'm missing out on Mingo is not. I don't feel that bad about missing out on Mingo.
If Chipsy wants to take him, he can take him here in a little bit. So.
I mean, I guess Young is just whatever. We hope he can give us a couple usable weeks in a week we need. So,
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, we could go with like a Jamari Thrash or a Jacob Cowing. There's several kind of receiver targets that are still here that are rookies.
I think I lean rookie over
just
Mingo too. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Brendan Rice just went off the board. Noah Brown's kind of interesting. I feel like wherever he goes, he's going to be a receiver 3. I just don't know where he's going to go exactly. So he's kind of an interesting guy. I mean, we have Levis. I don't really think there's another receiver within that group that's that interesting.
I don't think so. I mean, I saw some. I think someone was saying that the new Tennessee coach was talking about how they will prioritize a playmaker over offensive line in the draft. So I think it could be interesting if maybe they're a spot for O'Dunes or Neighbors if he falls to them. I think that would be really fun with Levis and Hopkins. That would be interesting. But hey, maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
We're at receiver and tight end, so even from there's not much of a stacking standpoint either from these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I like Tucker Kraft as the ADP value. I like Noah Fant. I'm a big Noah Fant guy. We have Davis Allen as well. Do you have a lean here at tight end? I think we finish it off with one of these guys.
Davis Allen's kind of interesting because Higbee tore his ACL or whatever, right? Like right at the end of the year.
Yeah, like real late. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Davis Allen's got a shot to start. I mean, I put Fant in there because I agree. I think Fant's going to go somewhere and have a good opportunity. So I think he's a good play, especially as you're like tight end 3. For a guy that's still. I mean, he's just coming off his rookie contract, so he's in that range of tight ends where they typically end up trying to do something from here. So, all right. Yeah. So who's our scroll down receiver? Who do we want to?
Is Jalen McMillan available?
Looks like he was taken.
He got taken. Shit. Okay. Yeah. That was the guy that Jacob was touting yesterday. As his must-have guy. Fuck, this is real rough.
Tillman or Rondale
Rondale. Is there anybody? I don't know. Scroll down. Is there anybody else that's even remotely? Oh man, this is rough.
Smith. That's terrible.
There's not even any fun rookies left. Yeah, I mean,
this guy's kind of fun.
Okay, sure. If we can get him in time.
Oh, we still got Rondale. Damn it.
That's okay. You know what? In honor of ship chasing, we got Rondale more too.
There we go.
Stacked up with Kyler.
Yeah, stacked with Kyler. We'll get one game That's like 12 points, and hopefully he makes it into the flex that week.
What if Rondale Moore is the guy you need?
That's right. That's right.
So we got a 3-6-8-3. We got Kyler, Will Levis, and a naked Bryce Young, which is always what you're looking for, is a naked
Right.
Bryce Young. And then we have who else? We have Gibbs. Can you scroll down a little bit so I
Yep.
can see? Gibbs, Chase Brown, Chuba, uh, Zach Chardonnay, Braylon Allen, and Michael Carter at running back. So another little stack onto our Arizona stack. Then we got Puka, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, Lad McDonkey, Michael Wilson, and Rondale Moore. So yeah, we actually got a lot of Arizona pieces. I didn't even forgot how many Arizona pieces we had. And then in Njoku, we couldn't stack them up with Watson. But then we got Jatavian Sanders and Noah Fant, the Bindles fan favorite to close it out. So I really like this team. How do you feel about it? Any thoughts about this first big board draft of yours?
I would say we ended up with a structure that has a lot of optionality in it, right? Wasn't that one of the things that um, Sack was talking about in creating a structure that gives you many outs, right? So if we start checking off players that don't hit at this time of year, you can take a few zeros. I think this is on the 3 QB build. I think this was the second, or maybe it was the highest amount of options on that list. So I think at this time of year, really, that's a big focus of what you can go for. Try to find some rookies, try to find some values that you can build a structure that gives you a lot of options. We need Kyler to ball out. We need Levis to take a step forward. Bryce to just go like a madman, with Canales and the Carolina, and take down this big board.
Yeah, I think like you said, the structure I think worked out really well. The pockets of the draft, we got ahead of the Avalanche, and then we tacked on some rookies and some stack partners later on, which feels really good. And then I like the mix of running backs we got with some young guys and some guys with some just projectable volume to get us through. Feels pretty nice. And yeah, we someone mentioned in the chat we actually do have a Chuba Bryce Young stack, which is exactly what you're looking for.
That's right. That's right. Those guys are going to take it all the way. So,
so Josh, any closing thoughts for us? Thank you so much for hopping on with me. I definitely am gonna have to join the Destination Devy Discord to talk some ball with you guys. But anything else you wanna plug? You want to cover off on before we hop off here?
no, man, it was a pleasure being on your show. Thank you for inviting me to talk football. It's my favorite hobby to get into is fantasy football and just football discussion in general. So it's a pleasure being on the show, talking a little dynasty, doing a draft together. Really look forward to this coming year, seeing your channel grow and you grow, within this community. It's really nice to see just another person be excited, about jumping in and being crazy with fantasy football. So I really appreciate it, man, having me on and talking through this draft.
Yeah, we'll have you on again sometime in hot best ball summer. And yeah, other plugs for me. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you are not already. We're over 200 subs. I think we're up to 210. So trying to stay consistent. Next video on Monday will be a Dynasty startup strategy video going over a recent startup I did and just overall macro strategy. I'll have a stream Wednesday with El Coach. I'm taking Friday off. My cousin is coming into town. I was supposed to do one with Sack, but I realized my cousin's coming into town, so I had to reschedule that one. But in some talks with some other big names in the ship chasing and surrounding adjacent communities. So should be really fun. Everyone have a good weekend and enjoy yourselves. Thanks so much, Josh. I will have to have you on sometime later on to reconnect and do another draft with you.
Yeah, for sure. See everybody later.
See ya.